So much has happened in our region since we last met in 2017. We held conferences for health and safety, directorate of locals, and young workers. We organized and added over 1,500 new members in the academic and gaming sectors. And we stood up for workers' rights with 3 strikes and 1 lockout calling for fair contracts. And let's not forget the ongoing rallies and actions against the Phoenix Bay disaster, which has impacted over 200,000 federal workers since 2016. 5 years later, we're still dealing with the mess. We were busy, we were mobilized, and we were taking action. Then, the world stopped.
Today was an extraordinary day with so many people in isolation to prevent the spread of COVID-19.
So we're talking about a brand new disease that's spreading quickly, and it's moving rapidly, and it's transferring between communities quickly as well.
Ontario is declaring a state of emergency effective immediately.
Being a leader and an activist in the pandemic has been quite a ride.
Well, things being complicated at the border would be an understatement, to say the least.
The work dried up. So for many people in the academic sector, it was very, very hard over the summer.
So many people in the house is difficult. It's hard to maintain a quiet spot for yourself.
Instead of my coworkers bringing me union management issues, it's been a lot more obviously health and safety based.
When you really consider it, the pandemic took pretty much almost everything away from us, except, the work that we do. And in some cases, even the work.
I have an employer, that allows us to work from home. I have my paycheck. A lot of Canadians don't, very unfortunate. So I'm very grateful on that aspect.
We're still busy within the union and work and all this, even with our life. But we feel at the same time we are isolated.
Mental health issues are huge. Practically everybody that I talk to, I urge strongly to go see the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, because this has been difficult for everybody. And it's been difficult for me too.
It's been a hard road. This has been hard, It's been a trial. There's been so many unknowns.
It was tiring. It was frustrating. You feel lonely.
Time means nothing if you work from home. Weekends mean nothing. Every day just merges into the next. Monday is a Saturday, Sunday is a Tuesday.
I like being able to get out. I like being able to see people.
We're not accustomed to being locked down, and I think by default we're social beings.
Actually, I've seen good union representatives that are having to just walk away or just take a break.
When we are facing difficult time, I have my family and I have my spouse here, but not everybody, they have the same.
Loneliness, frustration, and disengagement were all common reactions to the global pandemic. And just a couple of months into one crisis, another one emerged that woke us up and shook us into action.
Minneapolis this morning, police in riot gear moving out in force.
It's been a week since the death of George Floyd, a death that sparked an outpouring of rage and mass protest across the U.S. and in Canada.
We support the activism and energy of the people who want to make sure we achieve change.
We're 1 year from the loss, the murder of George Floyd, and that catapulted the world, which was already in crisis, into a level of activism that we hadn't seen before.
The murder of George Floyd and the activism of the Black Lives Matter, and here in Canada, also for Indigenous rights, has really shone a spotlight on systemic racism that has always been there.
It's reprehensible that we've had to wait so long before people would take this kind of notice and get this incensed about it. It's unbelievable.
We live here equally. It's not because of my skin color, I'm different than you. Or you are white, have white skin, you are different than me. We are all equal.
We have to do something. We can't keep hating like that.
I don't know what we're going to do to get through to people, for people to realize that We're all human. There's one race, and it's the human race. We just happen to be different shades.
It scares me and frightens me that this can happen in today's society. And I think more people need to speak out about it, and everybody needs to speak out about it, no matter what their race is and what they look like.
I think there's a greater awareness today that these systems are systemic and they hold people back and oppress them and exploit them.
Even now, 1 year later, if you turn on the news, you're still hearing stories that are strikingly similar to what happened to George Floyd.
I look on social media sometimes and I still see some of the comments that you don't want to see. And I shake my head and I wonder, like, where do these people come from?
I don't understand why people hate each other just because of the skin color.
This cannot continue. This has to stop.
As long as we keep plugging away and each doing our part and doing what we can to call it out for what it is when it happens and put a stop to it.
It was one of those moments in history, you kind of look back and years from now and you think, okay, this is a point where the world changed.
The blatantly racist attacks on BIPOC communities around the world inspired our members to take to the streets and social media. And our union took action too, offering webinars, training, and donations to the cause.
I think the union was very responsive. Our union leadership was very responsive in trying to get ahead of the situation fairly early.
Like they are engaged, and the pandemic, it doesn't stop us to be activists or to continue our role or our work, what we do as a union, right?
And I'm so inspired by the members and the activists and making anti-Black racism and Indigenous rights a union issue.
And the union's always been strength and solidarity, and that has never been more true.
And we've certainly been able to shift and find other ways to provide information and training to our members.
We need to find people that are going to get motivated to fight the injustices that we're dealing with.
Maybe courses to train racialized people that want to come up in the ranks so they know how to place themselves, how to go about getting to that point.
Having a strong support group is important to staying positive and staying healthy.
In our local, there's been a diversity committee that's begun, and they've been holding events and different things like that, putting out different information. So that has been great to see.
The positives are that we've ramped up our digital platforms significantly so that more people can participate in education, in training, in attending meetings.
Try to reach out to people. Sometimes that phone call pretty much saves a life, or at least brings that person back from the edge.
Making the effort to attend all of the union engagements, whether it was the webinars on anti-racism, whether it's the online training pieces, whether it's the Q&As and town halls that, have been ongoing, helped me feel connected to others and part of a community. And suddenly it wasn't so lonely anymore.
It's been a blessing, honestly, to see everybody kind of come together and pull together and act as a team.
I'll tell you, I have the same feeling about serving Canadians as I did when I first walked in the door over 30 years ago. So, that hasn't changed.
And now, after a 1-year delay, we're forging ahead with convention in a whole new way, tackling the business of our region and the future of our union virtually.
My advice to everyone, I haven't done a convention virtually yet. This will be my first one as well. So I shouldn't really be offering any advice.
First virtual convention is going to be a challenge for all of us. I love going to convention because I love meeting the people and working on resolutions and figuring out who's going to speak at the microphone.
What we can gain from the virtual convention is increased participation. What we can gain from the virtual convention is the ability to balance your home life and your union life in a new and exciting way.
Just have patience, because it's the first time for everybody doing a convention this large on this platform. So patience.
I know it's going to be a different learning opportunity for us to meet online or to run the convention online.
You're going to have trouble, I guess, networking.
You know, you see people at convention every 3 years, that's the only time you see them is at that convention every 3 years.
And I hope this doesn't mean that all conventions in the future are going to be video. I hope that we go back to being in person soon, very soon.
What you do here and now determines who we are as a union going forward. You are the decision makers. You are holding that power.
So thank you for being here. Thank you for your continued activism. And thank you for never backing down. We're together, apart, but always united in solidarity.